Okay guys, I'm going to show you what we'll end up creating later on. Basically, I've got myself a little island. I've downloaded some 3D assets from Google's 3D warehouse, and you can get those from any 3D websites out there. Um, and basically we've made this terrain and I've populated it with trees and a little mansion in the middle. And I'm just going to hit the play button so we can actually play it, and I'll get dropped into the universe, and here we go, and I can just walk around in first person view, and there's the mansion that I was talking about a little up there. We'll go through, and this mansion I imported from Google 3D Warehouse. um, and yeah, I mean, I haven't done anything too fancy just yet. Another example we can do is actually I can just get rid of that one, and I can bring in this character that I downloaded from Unity. We'll just hit play on this guy, and he's a character model I got from Unity, and he's able to fire as well, which is awesome. I haven't programmed the running, but basically he's ready to go, and he looks fantastic as well. Really cool. So we're going to create something very similar to this. So that's my game world, and I've created an island, a couple of interactions inside with my character. That's what we're going to do as well. When you're in Unity, normally it'll ask you to import some assets, and what we're going to do, we're not going to import any assets just yet. So what you may see is something like this. When you go new project, you'll see there is a lot of different packages we can import from Unity. We're not going to import any of them just yet. What we will do is set where we want to save our project. So I'm just going to go here, and I'm going to do it on the desktop. If you're on a school computer, you might want to choose your home drive or set up a new folder on the desktop like I'm going to do. I'm going to type in Unity. I'm going to write my first Unity project, hit create, and in that folder I will save the file as Unity game and hit save, and then we can hit create project. And if you did say you want to import some packages, it will take some time to load those packages, so just keep that in mind. That's why we just want to get started straight away. I chose not to import anything. Okay, so what is Unity? This is a powerful program that allows you to create 3D games, professionally made, and a lot of games are coming out on the consoles, PC games, especially games on iPhones and iPads and things like that are being made using Unity. Now, Unity is free, although there is a paid version if you wanted to publish. All right, so let's get started. We went to new project, okay, and now what we're going to do is just have a look at a few things before we start. Just want to make sure that we understand what's what. Okay, so before I explain some of the panels that are available to us, what we're going to do is first go to create over here on the, and we're going to go down to plane, and what that has done is create a little platform for us. And now what we're going to do is go back to create, and we're going to create a cube, and I'll do one more, create, and we're going to go sphere. Excellent. Okay, so now that we have a couple of things in the scene, let's actually go ahead and explain some of these things. So the first thing I want to explain is the scene window, this one right here in the middle. Now, if you don't see something like that, you might be on this scene, which is this tab, which is your game tab. So just click back over to your scene. Now, in your scene, basically you have your world. And we've entered 3 things into our world: a plane, a cube, and a sphere. And we'll control those in a second. So this is basically whatever you see in your game, whatever is going to come up, that's what we'll show. Now, first thing, you can hold down Alt on your keyboard, and you can use the left click on the mouse to basically pivot around. Okay, so that is Alt on the keyboard and using the left click on the mouse. Okay, so you can move around an object. Okay, so if I click on the plane, and I can move around the plane like so. Another cool thing is if I right click and I use WASD on the keyboard, I hold down the right click and WASD. If you've played computer games before, then this will be very, very familiar for you. If you haven't, then it might be a little bit difficult. But hold right click and then you can use W to go in, S to go out, A and D to go left and right. If you've played computer games before, you will know exactly what this is. First-person shooters on computer consoles and things like that. That's probably one of the easiest ways to maneuver in Unity, using WASD while you hold down the right click. Okay. Next thing, you can also use the mouse scroll wheel, but I tend to not use this as much. It does have a weird effect. Some things go missing when you do zoom in and zoom out. So I would normally just hold down the right click to move around, and then use WASD to basically zoom in and zoom out and things like that. And if you want to zoom in and zoom out a lot quicker, hold down Shift and then hit WASD, and you can go really, really quick. Sort of again like in first-person shooters, when you want to run fast, you hold down Shift. Okay. Now we'll explain some of these up here. Basically, you have the first tool here, the hand tool. That will basically move your, I'll just zoom out so you can see. That will basically move your scene, pan it around, and you can zoom in, etc. The second one, that's basically your moving tool. Okay, and over here on the left hand side, your hierarchy, you've got your hierarchy, and basically what that will do is whatever you have selected. So for example, the cube, I can use the moving tool to move it. Now I would very, very rarely move it from the center of an object, just because it's in 3D. You kind of, it's very hard to judge where you're placing. I would rarely move it using the center of the object, just because in a 3D world you might think, oh, I'm placing it, yep, that looks like it's on top of the sphere, but then I'll use the pan and I'll go around and you'll see it is actually nowhere near the top of the sphere. So working with 3D objects, you have to make sure it's precise, and these arrows are a great way of making sure it's precise. So this will move it along this axis, this will move it along that axis, and this one will move it up and down. So if I wanted to get it sitting on top of the sphere perfectly, I would pan around it, and just keep adjusting it, keep panning around. And now I know it is on top. Okay, so try to move your objects via the red, blue, and green icons there. That's my tip for you guys. We can click on the sphere and do the same. So I can move the sphere up, can move it down this axis or down that axis quite easily. The next one is the rotation tool. Now it's probably going to be easier if I demonstrate this using this cube here. I'm going to click on the rotation tool and you can see that I can rotate it on any axis I want, in any direction I want. Okay, so that's the rotating tool. The next one is I'll just go back. I'll just hit Control Z and that'll take me back to where it was. The next one will change the size. Now I can click and make it longer. Okay, I can bring it out this way. I can make it this way. If I wanted it to keep the aspect ratio, I would probably go to the very center, click and drag out, and then all of the sides, and it will keep the aspect ratio as well. Okay, so there are our 4 tools up top, and that's our hierarchy bar. The next thing I'm going to show you guys is the inspector here, inspector window on the right hand side, and here you can change the names as well. So for example, I can change sphere and I can change the name to, I can change sphere, I can change the name to let's say I can change the name to head, and then I can change the cube, can change that to body, because maybe I'm going to make a man or something like that. And then we can go ahead and place this, can move it, place it on top. Let's move it in. Okay. Okay, so the inspector has a few things you can do. Really cool thing is that we can hide some of these things just by, instead of deleting them, we can just click the little tick box, and that's good for testing purposes. We can rename them. A good thing about it is if I have precise position, coordinates and scale, if I want the sphere to be the exact same size as say the head to be the exact same size as the cube, the body part, I can just copy and paste the Z, Y, and X scale positions and put it directly into there, and it will be the same size. Same as the position as well. If I wanted this to be in the center of my whole plane there, I can put it on 0. So I can go 0, 0, 0, and I can do the same for the square. I can do it exactly the same position. So if I knew exactly where I wanted some things to be, I could do that as well. So I'll just move the head up, and I'll just move that up a bit too. Cool. So the inspector is great for transforming an object, and we'll be adding components later on, and we'll be doing things like that. Real quickly, the camera you see here, the main camera, this can be adjusted as well. So you can adjust the height of it, you can adjust what angle you're setting it, and if you have a look, the camera is facing, zoom out, the camera is facing, that's what the camera sees. It's looking right there, and there's a little window here that gives you a preview of what the camera sees. And basically, if I were to start my game, I'm looking at the camera. There's no camera controls just yet. My game is on, and I can just unclick the play button to go back to my scene. Okay, one thing I'm going to show you, if you wanted to move a couple of objects at the same time, let's pretend that this was the head and this was the body. What we're going to do is we're actually going to parent that object. And now that it is together, basically by just dragging and dropping, if I didn't want to parent it, I just drag it out. I basically put the body, and now this becomes a parent, and all I have to do is move one of them, and both of them will now move. If I decide to scale them, they will both grow or get smaller. So if you wanted to link objects, parenting is a fantastic way of doing that as well. Just drag that out for now. Okay, next thing we're going to do, we're going to look at coloring in our objects, how to actually put some color into them. So we'll make the body blue, we'll make the head red, and then later on I'll show you how to actually apply textures. Okay, so down here you'll see you've got your assets folder and things like that, and we're going to create some folders. So we're going to, basically what we're going to do, we're going to click on create, we're going to click on folder, and we're just going to call this if you just double click there, we'll name this colors, and then what I can do is right click and we can go to create, or you can just go to create here, it's up to you, but right click, go to create, and we're going to say we want to create a material, and I'm just going to call this color red, and we're going to go over here to the right hand side where the inspector is, and we're going to click on the main color, and this will appear, and we're just going to select red. We're also going to do one more time. We're going to go create, and we're going to go material, and we're going to go, this is the color blue, and we're going to go over to the right hand side, and we're going to select blue, and now it's as simple as dragging the color onto where you want it. So the head I'm going to make it red, and the body I'm going to make it blue. It's as simple as that. You can also, I'll just go back, you can also drop the color down here on the right hand side, so I can make the head red like that, and I can make the body blue. Simple as that. So that's how you can add color to your shapes in Unity. Okay, so now we're going to use Photoshop to design a texture. So instead of putting a color onto our 3D object, we're going to put a texture onto it. We're also going to download a texture from Google Images. So we'll do that first. For the sphere, we're going to get a, let's see, soccer ball texture. See if I can get a good one here. Logo there. Just download these onto the desktop. Okay, so I've got my two textures right there. All I'm going to do is basically drag them into Unity. I'm going to create a new material, and I'll just call it soccer ball texture 1. Over here on the right hand side underneath the color there's texture. I'm going to hit select, and I'm just going to pick this one, and then I'm going to drop it onto the ball. Now I will just pan around this for a second, zoom in a little bit. Let's have a quick look around. Doesn't look too bad, but there are things we can adjust in terms of the tiling. So I can have more or less. So I'll just zoom in here. So the tiling, according to the ball, I could have Maybe 1.5 will look a little bit better. 1.5. Obviously, it's all your taste. Depends what you want your ball to look like. That actually looks pretty good to me. So I might leave that. Might just do another ball. So we'll go a new material. Call it soccer ball texture 2. And go over to the select texture. I'll pick the Adidas soccer ball texture, and I'm going to apply that onto our soccer ball, just like that. And there it is. Looks really good, actually. Okay, so there's one way of applying a texture onto a 3D object. I can rotate the ball any way I want. What we're going to do now is actually create our own texture, and then we're going to apply it to this box. I'm going to keep it simple. Basically, what I'm going to do is make a look similar to a wooden box. So something very, very simple. I'll just open up Photoshop, and I'm just going to go File, New. I'm going to make it really small, actually 250. Actually, make it 200 width, and the height we can make it 400. Actually, the width I might make it 100 pixels wide. Hit OK on that. And now what I'm going to do is quite simple. I'm going to grab the paint bucket. I am going to go down here. I'm going to change the color. Just dunk it in there. Next thing I'll do is I'll grab the Eclipse tool. I'll change it to black, and I'm just going to put a circle here, and I'm just going to duplicate that layer, and then get the moving tool and just move it about there. I'm just going to highlight both layers. By holding down Control and clicking on both. Right click, I'm going to duplicate them again, hit OK. Then I'm going to grab the moving tool once again and grab those duplicated, and I'm just going to bring them down here like that. Okay, simple enough. Actually, what I might do is just duplicate my background. Okay. So I've got the same background. I'm going to change the actual background to black. So I'm going to get the paint bucket tool. I'm going to have it black. And now the top one, I'm going to hit Control T on my keyboard, and I'm just going to bring this in a little bit and do the same for the bottom. And just going to drop that down and across. Make sure it's even. That looks good enough. And let's save this one. File, save as. Make sure it's a PNG. Save it as wood. I'll replace the old one and drop it in there. I'm going to create a new, right click, go create new material, call it wood. I'm going to select my texture. This is where it differentiates with the soccer ball. I'm going to X, in terms of its X, I'm going to increase it. Let's go 10. and its Y maybe 2. And there we go. It's a little bit more distinguishable that they are panels, so a little bit better. Okay, so there we have two shapes with two different textures on it. Quite easily done. Okay, so now that we know how to bring shapes in, how to move them amongst our 3D plane that we've created, knowing that we don't want it to go underneath, okay, knowing that we want to actually sit on top of our plane, so we want to make sure that's always on top. What the challenge is next is to create a building using just the shapes that are provided: cube, sphere, capsule, cylinder. And what we're going to do is basically combine the shapes to create unique things. And by combining, I mean dragging on top of each other so that it becomes a parent, and then you can move the whole object together. So that's the next challenge.